The Spanish first came here in the 1500s, chasing gold up the valley of the Rio Amarillo, or Yellow River. They knew that the gold was richest on the valley floor, but they also knew that malaria and yellow fever would kill anyone who tried to live there. So they founded the town of Zaruma, high up on the hillside above. The indigenous people in the area were nearly wiped out over the next 100 years, either by disease or by brutal conditions of the mines of the Spanish. Indigenous leader Don Pedro Sari wrote to the Spanish crown,
"Considere su Alteza a los pobres indios, subiendo la escalera de cuerda que cuelga inestable en el aire, con una mecha encendida en una mano, y sobre sus hombros un costal de mineral que pesa 80 libras. Para escaparse del trabajo de las minas, los hombres venden sus pocas pertenencias y dejan a sus esposas y hijos desnudos y muriendo de hambre."
And then in the 19th century, the French and the English had come in, and they had said, oh, there's great gold in this vein. But they had brought in all this very large-scale equipment that rusted in the ports in Guayaquil, and they had no way to get it over the mountains. On the eve of the 20th century, Zaruma remained an isolated Spanish outpost, little changed from its colonial past. And in the valley below, the river still flowed clear and pregnant with gold. Meanwhile, a hemisphere away, my grandfather was born into a different set of horizons. He had the improbable name of Melek Tweedy. He was born on a sheep ranch in West Texas, in an area that not long before was part of Mexico. My Aunt Betty still lives on the ranch. After my dad died 2 years ago, she's the only one of Melek's children still alive.
Daddy had had the example of his father moving into a strange area and working with the natives. From early childhood, he'd associated with the Mexican people and the Spanish language.
But the family's deeper roots ran east.
Daddy felt himself as part of a stream of American history. His relatives had known Washington when he was getting ready to cross the Delaware, and that Mrs. Washington was there, and they remembered her knitting socks for the soldiers.
And 5 maiden aunts in Plainfield, New Jersey maintained the family's moral compass from a citadel known as the Anthill. Soon, Melek was off to Princeton in Columbia. There, he received a thorough indoctrination in the white man's burden. The president of Princeton gave a speech to the graduating class in which he said,
"Centuries ago, the knight-errant rode forth on the adventure of service to champion the cause of the weakened, the wronged, wherever they may be found. You must either discover your duty or else create it and swear allegiance to its high behests."
The other cause to which Melek and his classmates swore allegiance was the making of money.
That is part of his particular generation, I think. It was the era of the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts.
It was also the era of the gold standard, which linked the amount of money a nation could print to the amount of its reserves in gold. To mine gold was, literally, to create wealth for the country that received it, and to take wealth from the country of its origin. I can imagine that for Melik, with a degree in mining engineering, gold mining must have combined the spirit of adventure, the ethic of service, and the allure of wealth.
The idea of a strange area did not bother him. In fact, I think it may have been, he might have felt as if it was the next chapter of something.
After a stint in Mexico, Melik signed on with the South American Development Company, which was owned by the Vanderbilt family. And then he headed south to Ecuador. It was the beginning of a relationship that was going to last him the next 30 years. Driving to Zaruma from the coast today, it is hard to believe that when Melik first laid eyes on it, the journey took 3 days by mule from the nearest river port. My grandfather came in and he had this idea that you could disassemble all the equipment into pieces small enough that people could carry it on the backs of mules and the backs of men. The drama of that journey was really indelible in my family's culture. I think everybody thought of it as the best thing any of them had ever done. In Zaruma, the trail has a different kind of fame. The son of a mule driver wrote in his memoirs,
La ruta de las escaleras provocó muchos accidentes, y de allí se originó el nombre de la vía y la fama adquirida que constituyó casi una leyenda, donde un paso en falso podía conducir a toda una yunta de asimilas a un profundo barranco. Y estos accidentes sucedían con frecuencia para aumentar las penalidades de aquellos hombres fuertes, decididos y valientes que eran los arrieros.
When the mule trains crossed into the valley of the Rio Amarillo, they found a new mining town growing on its banks. The camp at Portobelo was attracting people from all over the region. People who had farmed for generations left their fields for jobs in the mines.
The Americans were preaching a bigger kind of gospel, which was the gospel of laissez-faire capitalism, and they were firm believers in it, there's no doubt about it. What they argued, I think, was that Ecuador would benefit from following this model just as the United States had benefited, that this would actually bring, as the company's name suggests, development.
And as if to consecrate this promise of economic prosperity, the company combined the valley's traditional religious festival with a new holiday, the 4th of July.